Hello everyone and welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to be looking at password cracking with Hydra. Alright, so you might be asking yourself, well, what exactly is Hydra? Well, Hydra is a fantastic login cracker and password cracking tool. Alright, now the great thing is about Hydra is it allows you to run cracks in parallel. Alright, so it allows you to perform the cracking of, logins or, password cracking in parallel. This means that you can perform a various number or a large number of attempts every minute. And the great thing is that you can control these attempts with Hydra. So Hydra is a fantastic tool for cracking login protocols, etc., etc. Now in this video, what we're going to be doing, or what I'm going to be showing you, is how to crack the SSH port on Metasploitable 2. Alright, so this time we're looking at how to crack an actual port here, login port. As you know, the secure shell does require a username and password combination, and in this case, I'm going to be showing you how to crack it with Hydra. Now, again, make sure the prerequisite for this video is that you have to have Metasploitable 2 up and running, or in fact, you do not need it. You can have any Linux distribution running or, a Mac operating system, because I'm not sure if Windows allows SSH connections to it rather than from it. So I would recommend that you have a Linux distribution available, or, my opinion is to use Metasploitable because it'll be much better in understanding how the process is performed. Now, one thing I do have to point out is cracking this password is going to take upwards of 4 hours. I'm simply going to be showing you the process of doing it. Alright, the results will be the same if you're using Metasploitable, and the time for cracking will vary about 2 to 4 hours. I've done this before on Metasploitable 2. And it took about 2 hours, and sometimes depending on my internet connection and the computer I was using, it took about 4 hours. Alright, so that is something I just want to throw out there. As I've said with password cracking, it will take quite a while depending on the complexity of the password. In this case, the cracking process is quite complex, so it's going to take quite a while. Okay, so let's get started with Hydra. Alright, so you might be asking, well, where is Hydra? Alright, so Hydra can be found if you just open up your terminal and you just type in Hydra. In this case, the cracking process going through this way is because I want to explain the commands, okay? The commands or the arguments as they were, or the syntax, is very, very important to understand if you want to really utilize this tool to its best ability or to its maximum potential. Alright, so if you use the Hydra, you just type in Hydra, it's gonna give you the help menu here. Alright, now looking at the commands here, essentially what the main thing that we'll be using is the L command, which allows us to log in. In this case, we are going to be logging in, or we're attempting to log in into the SSH port. Alright, the next command we're going to be using is the file command. Alright, the file command is going to allow us to select a word list, which in this case we will be using a word list. I'll be explaining very soon what word list we're going to be using. We will then be using the password file, which I've already shown you. We'll be using a word list, so don't worry about that. We'll be using the SSH service, which they do not mention here. But in all reality, we'll be just selecting a word list file, and furthermore, we'll just select our IP address and we will run the attack on that. Okay, so it's very important to go through this to understand what's going on. So by default, if you look at the example given here, ours is going to be pretty much very simple here with a few minor changes. Now, since we are going to be targeting the Metasploitable 2 virtual machine, we are going to need the local IP address for that. So we're just going to perform, just go in here, and I've already typed in the ifconfig command, and we know that the local IP address is 192.168.1.102. Alright. So we know that the SSH port is running on port 22, and that is very important to understand. So we're just going to clear this and we're going to get started with using Hydra. Alright, so by default, we're going to be using the default word lists that Kali Linux comes with. More specifically, we already looked at where they lie in terms of their directory, user share, word lists. Alright, so word lists, and we hit enter and we list the word lists that are found here. We can see that these are the word lists that come with Kali Linux. The one we're going to be using is the SQL map.txt. Alright, that is the most effective for this login cracking. Alright, so we can just go back and we can get started. So the syntax is going to be very simple. We're going to type in Hydra, and we're then going to select the username or login. So Hydra, and we're going to select the L command, which means we are logging in. And then we're going to select the username, which in this case is root. The username is always going to be root. And by default, once we've selected the username, we can then move on to select the word list. In this case, we specify the word list location. If you have created your own word list, as we saw in the earlier video with Crunch, you can just go to user share, word lists, and we select the SQL map.txt. So that is the word list that we're going to be using. And now we need to select the local IP address. So we're going to say 192.168.1.102, I believe. That was the local IP address. There we are. So it is 192.168.1.102. And now finally we need to select the service that we are trying to target, which in this case is SSH. So I'm just going to hit enter. And once we hit enter, it's going to start the login cracking process. And as I said, this is going to take upwards of 4 hours. So the main thing I wanted to show you in this video is the cracking process and how you can use Hydra to crack logins. Alright, now by default, you can also try this on services like FTP, Telnet, etc, etc. Alright, anything that has a login prompt, you can use Hydra on. Alright, so I'm just going to type in enter. Oops, for some reason we are getting an error here. Unknown service giving us an error saying the IP address is unknown service. Sorry about that. Let me just see what the error could be. Sorry about that. Yes, my bad. We actually forgot to specify that we're using a password or a word list, and that can be done by using the p command just before you specify the location for the word list. Alright, so sorry about that. That was my mistake. So essentially we're saying Hydra login. Alright, we're using the L command to log in. We're using the username root, which is the default username. So essentially what we're cracking is the password. Okay, we're then going to select we are saying we want to use this word list here, which is the default word list found on Kali Linux that can be found in user share word list. And furthermore, the word list that we're going to be using is the SQL map.txt file, and then you select the IP address for your target and the protocol or the service in which you are trying to perform this login attempt on. Furthermore, the login cracking process. All right, so I'm going to hit enter, and now it should work. All right, there, fantastic. So the cracking process has begun. Now, for some reason, we are getting a previous session found here. This is probably because I actually ran this before. All right, so as you can see, it's going to start the attacking process, and this will be denoted by the data section here. All right, so the data section will just give you data about the attack, and you'll be looking, it'll now give you another option here with the name status, which is going to show you the status of the attacking process in terms of the amount of tries that were run. And again, as I said, by all means necessary, it's going to take quite a while. So I've already run this before, and I can guarantee you that if you're using Metasploitable 2, the results will pretty much be the same. The password cracking process will actually take quite a while. So I'm just going to stop the video here because, as I said, the process is just the same and the cracking results will be exactly the same. Now, if you're trying to run this on another target or server, depending on the complexity of the password and the word list that you're using, it can take longer or it can take a much shorter amount of time. All right, so it's really up to you. So as you can see, the first status alert has come here, and it has already tried 1,375 tries, and there you go. Alright, so that is how to use Hydra for password cracking, more specifically how to use Hydra for cracking the SSH port. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video. In the next video, we'll be looking at password cracking with Medusa. So I'll be seeing you in the next video.